membership group. And I try to make the videos here as beginner friendly. It's so good to see y'all. I try to make the videos here as beginner friendly as possible, but it's always going to have that stuck mama, stubborn loser little twist and little flavor. And so I've got 3 hydration tips. Actually, they're mistakes. I have 3 hydration mistakes that I want to talk to you about. Hey, Sherry. And the last one is very much a stuck mama, stubborn loser little tip. So if that's you, make sure you make it to number 3, okay? So our focus in my membership group is on hydration. And each week we are doing a different little habit, okay? So this week we're drinking a glass of water before coffee. But we're doing it. We're doing it together. And that's the power of a membership tribe or a community like us. When we're focused on doing the same thing together, it gets easier. It's a little easier when you're doing it with a group of mamas that are also doing it. And let me tell you, I would not be drinking a glass of water before coffee if it was not for my membership mamas, because I don't want to do it, but I know it's good for me. And that's actually what we're going to talk about. Number 1, hydration mistake that many of us make. Okay, I'm raising 2 hands. I'm not raising 1, I'm raising 2 hands on this one. So here's my mistake, and many of us do this. We know that drinking too much caffeine of any sort can be a problem with getting our hydration out of balance. And we also know that too much caffeine later in the day can be an issue. Hey, Peggy, can be an issue with disturbing our sleep and kind of messing up our sleep. And so what many of us smart mamas do is we say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to have any caffeine after lunch. My rule is no caffeine after 2 p.m., but I actually usually cut that off about noon or 1 p.m. But I'm like, okay, I'm not going to have any caffeine after lunch. And that sounds so good, and that is good. Here's the problem. I front load my caffeine at the beginning of the day, and guess what I'm not having? I'm not having enough water and decaf beverages. Now, I might have some, but I'm front loading the caffeine, and I'm not front loading the water and the proper hydration. And so that's where today when I was talking to my membership mamas about our focus this week of getting in that glass of water before the coffee. And then really there's value in getting in another glass before we eat our breakfast, okay? And another one before we eat our lunch. And I mean, even more than that is okay too. But that is a mistake I have made, it didn't even hit me. It didn't even hit me until like this week. And this is me admitting to you as a veteran from Healthy Mama, as a coach. I didn't even think about the fact that while I might get enough water and decaf later in the day, I'm not giving myself enough in the beginning of the day. Maybe I'm not spreading it out well enough. And so here's the problem with that. And this is why we're drinking our glass of water when we wake up before coffee in my membership group. The main benefit to that is simply that when you wake up, you're already dehydrated. Hey, Teresa, you're already dehydrated. I mean, just naturally, there's nothing, you don't need to be worried about that. But when you wake up, you have not had anything to drink for a long time. And so you wake up and you're slightly dehydrated. And so you want to go ahead and start that hydration process as soon as possible. And I almost hate to even admit it, because my membership mamas have heard me grumble about this glass of water before coffee for quite some time. And I tried it before. I didn't love it. And I was like, you know what? Life's too short. I don't want to do that. And so now it cycles back around and we're focused on hydration again. So I'm doing it. But this time I needed to hear it again. Hey, Robin, I needed to hear it again, or maybe I needed to hear it in a different way, how important it is that we got to recognize we're dehydrated when we wake up. We need to rehydrate. And the main area that's going to show up in, if you're skewing your water intake to later in the day, it's going to really show up in your short-term memory and your cognition. Okay, it's like brain stuff. And I'm like, Lord knows I need all the help I can get in that department, so I don't need to be shortchanging myself when it comes to any of that stuff. So that's mistake number one. Mistake number one is not having enough proper hydration, like let's just say before lunch, thinking that it's okay to go get your caffeine in, get all your caffeine in, and then have the hydration later. That seems like a good idea, and it is for some things, but we really need to spread it out, okay? And if y'all drink water, hey Jeannie, if y'all drink water when you wake up before coffee, please drop that in the comments below, because I need y'all to shame me. I really do. I need y'all to tell me, oh yes, I do that. Why are you not doing that, Mama Fox? I need it. I really do need it, because that's what's going to help me keep motivated until it becomes a habit. It's not my habit yet. It takes a while to make a habit, but I am getting there. And then, you know, I have a habit tracker that I use with my membership mamas, and that helps too, definitely. All right, mistake number two. Mistake number two that we make with hydration is, this is an interesting one. So let's talk about exercise. Now, obviously, when you exercise, whether or not you sweat, okay, you can exercise good and not necessarily sweat, especially if it's winter. But a lot of us think, okay, after I exercise, I need to replenish my electrolytes and I need to drink lots of water for recovery. That is true, but here's one of the mistakes we make. We forget that we need to enter our exercise well hydrated. Definitely not dehydrated. We need to focus on getting that water and hydration in before we start exercising, not just after. So think about that. Make sure that you're getting in some good water, good hydration, some good decaf. And definitely, you know, a decaf herbal tea, that totally counts, okay? Totally counts. But whatever it is, make sure you're doing that before you exercise as well as after. Because really, when we're exercising like that, we definitely don't need to be dehydrated. We need our lungs and our heart and all of our organs working well. And what's going to help them to work well is being hydrated on the front end of our exercise, not just after, okay? After's important too, but we definitely want it beforehand. That's going to help with, obviously, fatigue. That's going to help decrease muscle cramping and all those kind of things, or just, you know, recovery for sure. But it's those organs that we're stressing in a good way when we exercise. They've got to be ready to take it, not just your muscles, but also your body organs that are having to work hard also. All right, mistake number three. Now this one, y'all, this is for advanced mamas, okay? Because I'm almost always going to bring you an advanced mama tip. Here it comes, okay? Here's a mistake that a lot of mamas make after they've been on plan for a while and they've gotten their blood sugar stable and they've had some success, and then next thing they know, they're stuck. They're stuck, and it's not, well, I'm glad to hear that, Jeannie. I mean, I hate it. I'm glad I'm in good company. We're going to conquer this, though. But this is a tip for those mamas who are stuck and you're not sure why, because you feel like you're, you know, doing all the right things and stuff. So here's something to look at. A lot of times we have so many yummy drinks on the Trim Healthy Mama plan. Hot drinks, cold drinks. We got all kind of fun drinks of all different sorts. And they are very beneficial for many different reasons. But if you are grappling with stubborn weight and you've tried lots of things and it's not budging, one thing to look at is, are you actually fueling in between your meals with some of your drinks? Okay, I don't mean shakes. Y'all know that the shakes are really more for meals and snacks and things like that. I'm talking about some of those drinks that it just seems like you're having, you know, a cup of tea or coffee, or it just seems like you're having just a sipper, but it's not really a sipper, and it's not called a sipper because it has some fuel in it. On the Trim Healthy Mama plan, they talk about fats and carbs as the main sources of fuel, and that protein is kind of like an anchor. That's true, but also protein is a fuel, not to the level that carbs and fats, but one of the reasons, or the main reason, that protein is limited out of those all-day sippers, like the Good Girl Moonshine, things like that, is because it is a fuel. It's a low-level fuel, but it is a fuel, and we want to be mindful of that we're not unintentionally snacking between meals with our drinks, okay? And so what that, a teaspoon of collagen or protein powder in one drink in between meals, that's not really a problem. But the problem is if you have like one of those an hour, and I'm laughing because it's like, I love me a good hot drink. I do. So we have to be mindful of that we're not unintentionally stacking up a bunch of low-level fuel from our wonderful drinks in between our meals, because what that's going to do, it's not going to give your digestive system much of a break, and it needs to have those times where it's working and it's resting, and it's working and it's resting. It needs to have those times for it to function the best. But also, when you are giving your body a little bit of fuel, this is what we teach with Trim Healthy Mama, it's not getting to stored fat. And that's what we want. We want it to get, hey Mary, we want it to get to stored fat, okay? And so if you're constantly like, it's like a baby bird, and you're feeding it with just a little bit of fuel in that drink, you just keep doing it, it's never going to get to stored fat, okay? Now, if you're new on plan, you know how that is. If you're new on plan and this is like a whole 180 way of eating and approaching things, this is much less of an issue because your greatest changes are just going to come from not eating sugar and junk anymore, right? I'm talking to the mamas who have been on plan for a while. They had some success, but suddenly things aren't moving like they want, and they still have weight to lose, okay? And so that's just one thing that you can look at. Now, how do you fix that? Well, that's not too hard to fix, okay? Pearl has talked about closing a meal with just a little something that's usually sweet, to just kind of tell yourself, okay, we're done here. We're done eating. I had me a little meal cap, so to speak, and I'm done. So that's a good time to have one of those fun drinks that has a little bit of fuel in it like that, is at the end of the meal, and you kind of sip on it after the meal's done. That's a good time to do that. Also, just think about that. Probably a lot of those drinks will work if you just pull that fuel back. You may not even need the protein or the collagen in it. That's possible. Take a look at the recipe, and it may just be that you can enjoy it and get those fun flavors that come from the extracts and the spices like cinnamon or something like that, and you might not even really need the fuel. I know for me, I just love having a hot mug that I can just sip. I love this. And it really helps. That is what helps me bridge from meal to meal for sure. Well, actually, it's not so much bridging. It keeps me from eating when I'm not really hungry and I don't even need it, okay? And so when I'm having my hot drinks, I don't need to add a scoop of anything in there. I don't need a scoop of collagen at that point because I've already fed myself well at my meals and snacks. So I want you to think about, like, if you're really kind of low-level fueling in between your meals to the point where you're just constantly giving yourself some fuel and never giving your body a chance to get to stored fat. That can be a real staller for a lot of mamas that just kind of goes unnoticed, okay? So I want you to think about that. I hope that was helpful to you. So think about, don't just only front load your caffeine. Make sure you're front loading some hydration in the morning, okay, and definitely throughout the day. That was number one. Number two, front load some water and hydration before you exercise, not just after. And number three, pay attention to what you're drinking between meals, and keep in mind that low levels of protein, if it's not a sipper, okay, I'm not talking about sippers. Those are freebie all day. Sippers are basically flavored water. I mean, that's basically what it is. But those other fun drinks, they're great and you can use them. But if you're stuck, you might want to take a look at how much fuel, including protein, not just fat, not just the coconut oil and the MCT oil and things like that. Take a look if you're stuck, okay? So I hope that was helpful. I hope y'all have a great weekend. I appreciate the 20 of y'all coming live on a Saturday afternoon. It's almost Saturday evening to watch this. I hope it was helpful. like I said, I'd love for y'all to tell me if y'all drink water in the morning, because I need some, me and Jeannie need, or it could be Jeanne. I don't know how to say your name, friend. We need some mamas to tell us to drink water in the morning. So that's what we need, because I know it's good. I know it's good. I'm going to stick with it. I promised my membership mamas that I'm going to drink the water in the morning first for the rest of the month. I'm challenging myself to do it for the rest of the month, okay? Because I can do hard things. Not that it's all that hard, but good grief. I can do this the rest of April, right? And I would love for y'all to join me, because the more the merrier. Misery loves company, right? That's what I actually need. All right, ladies, I'm glad to see y'all, and welcome new mamas. I'm glad you're here. I hope this was helpful. I promise I don't usually go live on Saturdays, but every once in a while, life with kids, life with teenagers. So, all right, y'all have a great weekend. Bye-bye.